Surprised, confused and worried, Ferrari's list of adjectives after being demolished by Red Bull in the Belgian Grand Prix sums up the significance and manner of such a crushing defeat. Max Verstappen was so superior at Spa that he managed to dominate the race from 14th on the grid, while Carlos Sainz was the highest placed Ferrari in third despite starting on pole position. Afterwards, a defeated Charles Leclerc called Red Bull's progress strange. So is something amiss in this latest Verstappen victory, or is Ferrari at risk of being embarrassed a few more times before the season ends? Verstappen led a Red Bull 1-2 at Spa, beating teammate Sergio Perez by 18 seconds, despite starting from 14th on the grid because of a penalty. Ferrari was already concerned in qualifying, in which Verstappen was so utterly in control he only needed to do a single run in Q1, Q2 and even Q3. And the manner of Sunday's race has only intensified Ferrari's unease. Leclerc finished 6th after starting one place behind Verstappen on the grid, although his race was complicated by an early pit stop because one of his brake ducts had picked up a visor tear-off. Actually, Leclerc was 5th on the road, but he had a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane for a pit stop he didn't want to make, but Ferrari insisted he did. Such was the focus on Red Bull's searing speed after the race though, that Leclerc repeatedly turned back to that topic during post-race media briefings whenever he was asked about Ferrari's own problems. He described that gap as more frustrating and the thing we need to work on, admitting Ferrari didn't have an immediate answer for why it had suffered such a great speed deficit. There was a clear source of Ferrari's initial amazement: Verstappen's pace across all three sectors at Spa. Leclerc said the RB18 is so fast on the straights it looks like it has no downforce, but it's then as quick, if not quicker, through the corners as well. The Spa circuit has high speed first and last sectors, but the middle part of the lap has a range of corners. This usually requires teams to choose between higher and lower downforce setups, but the speed of the Red Bull in Verstappen's hands was ominous across the lap. Verstappen had the second fastest first sector of anyone in qualifying and was quickest in sectors 2 and 3, 3/10 faster than the next quickest driver, Leclerc, in the middle sector alone. In the race, which is harder to judge because drivers sometimes don't have the DRS or they have a tow from another car, Verstappen was also faster than the Ferraris in all three sectors. His advantage was more than 2/10 in sector 1, 3/10 in sector 2 and 1/10 in sector 3. He also managed to set the fastest lap of the race on mediums, which Leclerc couldn't beat even with that late pit stop for soft tyres, an empty fuel tank, the DRS and a bit of a tow. Ferrari team boss Matteo Binotto also admitted this was a great concern. He said the indication is that the Red Bull RB18 has an extremely efficient car with a strong downforce to drag ratio and a good engine. That is a pretty ominous combination for Ferrari to try to counter, even though Binotto tried to find the silver linings and suggest that Red Bull having such a big advantage won't be repeated beyond Belgium. For Binotto to be correct, Belgium needs to be a complete anomaly in terms of Red Bull's performance level. It certainly was compared to the races that came before it. Despite comfortably leading both championships, this was actually the first time this season that Red Bull has emphatically dominated a Grand Prix weekend. Leclerc actually said it's strange to see Red Bull was suddenly so much quicker than everybody, especially when the gaps between other teams he believes have been more or less the same since the start of the season. The fact Red Bull made a big step is visible with even a simple look at the weekend's results, but it also stands up to deeper scrutiny of the data as well. We can calculate the performance of each team by taking their fastest laps from each weekend as a percentage of the outright fastest. You may have seen us use this before in past videos, we call it the super time method. Looking at the super times of all the teams in dry qualifying sessions before Spa, Ferrari has the quickest car, with Red Bull 0.25% off and the average of the 7 remaining teams 1.7% behind Ferrari. But at Spa, not only did Red Bull enjoy a massive 0.6% advantage over Ferrari, the gap to the remaining 7 teams ballooned as well, to over 2%. So where did this step come from? Well, for starters, the RB18 has looked tailor-made for this track, so there's a good chance this could be entirely circuit specific. Verstappen certainly thought so. He said the car felt like a rocket ship at Spa and doesn't expect to have quite such an advantage at upcoming tracks. Another factor could almost certainly be the specific setups teams are forced to employ at a circuit like Spa. Now this could have something to do with the FIA's new porpoising technical directive enforced from this weekend, or that could be a red herring. Spa marked the debut of the new metric designed to police how much the cars are permitted to suffer from high frequency oscillations, either from porpoising or the cars running too low and bottoming out. In addition, the FIA has forced several teams, believed to be as many as 8 or 9, to tweak their floor designs to avoid excessive plank flexing. Now Ferrari is absolutely adamant this has had a negligible effect on its own performance. But it's possible that Red Bull might have actually benefited if every team is now having to run its car at a slightly higher ride height. Because Red Bull reckons its car philosophy is different to everyone else's and that it's still able to run slightly higher rake, even if it's not as much as we saw Red Bull adopt with the previous generation of cars. Whether this becomes a trend over the remaining races with the new technical directive in effect remains to be seen. And it could just be Spa specific, as the bumps around the track, particularly the compression in Eau Rouge, tend to lead to higher ride heights. So it's either a one-off because the Red Bull is just perfectly matched to Spa, or it could be a consequence of the technical directive and lead to a new baked-in advantage for the RB18. Maybe it's a bit of both, but we do need more races to find out for sure. Red Bull continues to improve its RB18, and at Spa it had mildly reprofiled side pods and a reprofiled rear suspension shroud. These have given Red Bull minor cooling and aerodynamic gains, and while they aren't anywhere near enough to explain a performance step like we saw in Spa, they are symbolic of something else. The rate of upgrades on the Red Bull has been noted with interest by some teams, and Ferrari continues to make a lot of noise about the FIA needing to police the budget cap strongly. Worryingly for Ferrari, there's even a rumour that Red Bull is readying a new lighter chassis for the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner danced around this when questioned at Spa, while his Ferrari counterpart Binotto made it clear that such an upgrade would not be possible for the Scuderia. Now we should make it absolutely clear there is no explicit suggestion that Red Bull is doing anything funny to get around the budget cap and introduce more upgrades than it could reasonably afford. Perhaps it's simply more efficient, perhaps Ferrari's just being too conservative. But if Red Bull does indeed persevere with its aggressive upgrade strategy, then no doubt more questions about how it's managing this within the cost cap will follow. For now, there are more urgent and tangible issues for Ferrari to deal with. While the cause of its one-lap deficit remains a mystery for Spa, the gap in the race was potentially exaggerated by tyre wear. The Red Bull has looked increasingly good on its tyres as the season has developed, while this is also one of Verstappen's most underrated skills. As the track surface is more open at Spa, this circuit can quickly turn into a killer on its rear tyres, and the weather was much better on Sunday with track and air temperatures much higher than earlier in the weekend. In fact, most drivers were nursing their tyres from very early on in each stint, but Ferrari seemed to suffer particularly badly from poor tyre management, and this has been a factor at several circuits over the season. Ultimately, a whole host of reasons played into Red Bull destroying Ferrari in Belgium. Leclerc admitted the championship is definitely looking extremely difficult now, having fallen 98 points behind Verstappen and been overhauled by the other Red Bull of Sergio Perez. Realistically, the title fight was dead before this weekend, but now the question is, will more races be dominated by Red Bull in this fashion as well? Because one of the main silver linings for the rest of 2022 was that we might expect close fights at each race, and Ferrari could be a victory contender at every Grand Prix. Now Ferrari needs to ensure that Spa was actually an anomaly, especially as all signs point to the Red Bull only getting faster.